Hello, my name is Pavan Kumar and welcome to my YouTube channel. Guys, continuing our playlist towards Python programming. Today we'll try to understand some of the data types in Python programming, and we also try to understand the type of the data in Python programming with respect to the variables in Python programming. Okay. So if you're visiting my channel for the first time, please do subscribe to my channel and please press the bell notification icon to get all updates related to my YouTube channel. So let's begin our journey towards Python programming. Okay. So this is the topic, guys, which we are going to discuss today: data types in Python programming. Okay, so let's begin our journey. So before we begin, so let's mention some of the data types in Python programming. Okay, so there are many different types of data types in Python programming. So as I told you, like, we'll focus more on basics rather than directly jumping into the complexities. Let's mention some of the very basic data types which are present in Python programming. Okay, so the first data types for the first data type in Python programming is integer. Data types in Python. Okay, so the first data type is, as I told you, integer. Okay, I will tell you what exactly the integer is, and I will also tell you what are the data types which we are going to discuss. The second data type is float floating data type, so we'll mention it as float. So the third data type which we are going to discuss today is string, and the fourth data type which we are going to discuss today is boolean. Okay, so today we are going to discuss these four different types of data types in Python programming. There are other different data types also in Python programming, so that we'll understand in the coming days. So as of today, like, we'll discuss only these four data types. Okay, so let's run this particular cell and with the mentioned comments. Okay, so integer, so any number like 1, 2, 3 to n is considered as integer in Python programming. Okay, so you take any number, guys, either from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 100, or anything up to n is considered as integer. Okay, so this is considered as integer. We'll mention it in comments so that it would be easy. Okay, and the second data type which we are going to discuss today here, as I mentioned, float. So any decimal number like 1.1 or 2.1 or 2.9 or 6.5, so any decimal number is considered as floating point data type. Floating we will just mention it as float data type. Okay, so the third data type which we are going to discuss today is string. So anything which is present in between double quotes or a single quote is considered as string data type. Okay, so you can mention any name, or you can mention India, or you can mention a history, or you can mention it as a Python. Okay, so this is a string data type. So string data type is basically represented as str in Python programming. Okay, so that you will come to know in the coming videos as we move ahead into Python programming. And the fourth data type is boolean. I think Boolean data type, not data type, I think to true or false, like AND gate, OR gate, NOT gate, um, or XOR gate, or any different types of gates which you have studied in your school days or college days, or if you have studied engineering, like if you have studied a logic gates as a subject. So probably you might have studied the true or false, like AND gate, OR gate, like that. So for true, like we basically represent with 1, or if it is a false, we represent it by 0 in your school days or a college days. Okay, so here we'll understand the boolean data type with respect to true or false. Okay, so let's take an example of integer, and let's try to find out what type of data type it is with respect to the variables. Okay, so I will just take it as x is equal to 10. I have just mentioned x is equal to 10. X is a variable, and 10 is the value which we have assigned to that particular variable. And now let's try to run this particular cell. Okay, and now suppose if we want to find the type of the data type, x means we have to mention it as type, open the bracket, and mention it as x, and now press Ctrl Enter. So now you can see the data type of x is integer. Okay, suppose if I want to mention this particular x is equal to 10, and if I want to represent it in the form of float, means you can mention it like print of float of x. Okay, now let's run this particular cell. Okay, so as I told you, like any decimal number is considered as a float in Python programming. Okay, so we have understood int and we have understood float. Now let's take an example of another float to understand more clearly. Let's mention y is equal to 5.678 something. We'll give like this. Okay, and we'll give some other number here. Let's mention it as 58.65874589. Okay, and now let's try to run this particular cell, and now let's check the type of y. Okay, we'll mention it as y here, and now let's try to run this particular cell, and it's a floating point data type, so it's mentioned as float. So we have understood int and we have understood float. Okay, now suppose if we want to print y with respect to integer, now let's see like whether it is possible or not. Okay, we'll check here itself, int of y. Any idea, guys, if I run this particular cell, what might be the output? Because y I have given it as 58.65874589 blah blah. Okay, now let's try to run this particular cell. Okay, we are getting 58 because we are printing the variable y with respect to integer. Okay, if it is integer, it will not print anything after this point. It will not print any decimal number. It will print only that number before the decimal point. Okay, so we have understood integer and we have understood floating, and now